Our podcast is a part of the World Podcast Network, now with over 1,000 podcasts. Visit the World Podcast Network at worldpodcast.network to listen to podcasts in over 12 genres. Come vote our podcast episodes up and help us rise on the leaderboard. If you have a podcast of your own, you can join for free. Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I am Tanika, and today we are going to be doing that B90 roundup that I said we were going to be doing. So we're going to be doing, like we kind of did last time, couple by couple. We're going to be doing episode by episode. So that's what we're going to be doing. There's no hot goss in this episode. We're just going to be jumping right in right after we talk about the announcement. So, again, announcement. Podcast is going to be on a break from December 11th until January 15th, but not to worry, you're still going to be getting episodes. The schedule is there on socials, was announced in the 500 Days of Bummer episode for The Other Way. So you have the schedule there. We're going to be doing shows like Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, Love Off the Grid, Owning Manhattan, Married at First Sight, unless otherwise. And that's what we're going to be doing. So there could potentially be, a little off in terms of when the episodes are going to be coming. Some of them are ready to go and on time, but some of the other episodes may not be. But we will figure that out. I will have announcements up on the socials to say when that can be expected. So yeah, that's basically that. Not much else to discuss. So let's just jump in to our B90 roundup covering episodes 11 to 13. We'll try to do 14. 14 will be done, but maybe I'll do 14 and 15 together. We'll see. But then that will be the last episode for B90 until I come back. We will be covering it. Now, I also know I said that I wouldn't be covering Below Deck Sailing while I'm off. Like whatever happens kind of thing. That's a lie. I lied. We're covering it. I will be figuring it out. So you'll be getting those episodes for that. And you'll also get Last Resort, the 2 episodes before I'm off as well. That might also be combined. We'll see how it goes though. But let's get into it. So B90 roundup. Let's talk Tigerlily and Adnan first. So this is episode 11. So as we know, they're in Turkey, and Tigerlily kind of says, like, we're gonna have like time to like get to know each other. Like we're gonna, do that, and then we're gonna deal with our issues, and then we're gonna have like quality time, and then we're gonna make a baby. So let me just say this: we're gonna obviously get to know each other because we don't know each other. We got married. We're going to spend time together, quality time together. We're going to deal with thy issues because, yeah, you don't know each other, so there's going to be issues. And then we're also going to make a baby, even though we don't know each other and we have issues. Makes sense. So she says that they try, like, a lot. They tried a lot. Great. So they're at the Grand Bazaar, which is, huge. We've seen it before. We saw with Serper and Shekinah as well. And she's like, candy. And he's like, oh, do you want some? She's like, no. But she's really excited to see the thigh candy that she's not actually going to be saying or eating. She's like, baby, my feet hurt because of the shoes she's wearing. And they're like, okay, we'll look at some shoes. And she's like, this is like the wrong place to like wears stiletto shoes because, like, it's just, like, not good. And the producer's like, do you wish you wore gym shoes? Like, gym shoes? Why would I wear gym shoes? It's not a gym. I, I when I heard this for the first time, I cried. Why? We're not at a gym. Why would I wear gym shoes? It's just, I don't know where we found her. I really don't. I'm gonna keep saying it because I'm grateful. When you do Thanksgiving and you're like, what are you thankful for? I will say Tigerlily. So they're in like this store. I'm not sure if it's like the shoe store or what, but they're in the store. She's like, I'm gonna take my coat off because she's feeling hot. And he's like, no, it's too tight. And she's like, what's like wrong with what I'm wearing that like I can't take my coat off? And he says like, you are in an ugly place because there's men here, so it's an ugly place. And he's like, I'm a man and I know more than you do. And I was, oh, jeez. And she's like, well, listen, I need like a light or something, but like my feet hurt and like I don't know which to do first. Listen, there is nothing more miserable than having your feet hurt, you're hot. There's nothing more miserable. And you do it all at the same time. Loud. And she's like, my feet are gonna fall off. And she's like, my feet are gonna fall off. And I'm gonna have like a heat stroke. She's basically complaining because, hell, I think we all would complain enough to make him miserable. Anyway, in the next scene with them, she's like, they've left the Grand Bazaar. They're going to be doing another surprise thing, like a boat. And she's like, my feet still hurt, but like, I couldn't have worn like different shoes with this outfit. And that's basically what it comes down to. But now we're on this boat, like I said, and he, because I'm happy because I get to sit because her feet hurt and she's hot and all that. And yeah, she has to cover herself, he says, because all Muslim women do. What about it that she doesn't get? And I'm like, well, because you just said it, that all Muslim women do it and they do it without question because this is her culture, lifestyle, religion. This is not her culture. This is not her religion. This this is nothing that she's ever done. Now, should she Google? I've said it. The answer is yes. But she didn't because she is who she is. And I just don't know what he doesn't get. So he says, I don't want any man to touch you because we're talking about the chiropractor situation again. Basically, he's a doctor, so it's okay. And she's like, well, my chiropractor is a doctor. He's like, no, that's not a doctor. Yikes. He is a doctor. Chiropractors are doctors. And for him to say this chiropractor is not, they need to know how the body works, what to do, what to crack, what not to crack, They need to have a PhD in PhD. That's right. Doctor, doctor stuff to know what to do. So it's for him to be like, that's not a doctor. Well, the video you saw, you're right. That guy's not a doctor. That guy has an OnlyFans account, but her chiropractor is a doctor. He says baby. And I think he says if he says baby or sweetie or honey, it makes better. But he says baby. Your mind is so small. And then they basically just have a conversation about if I have to cover up in a swimsuit, then you have to wear a t-shirt. And he agrees to do it just to shut her up. And that's basically that for episode 11.
All right, next, let's do Rayne and Chidi. This is it, guys. This is it. Episode 11 and episode 12, this is it. So, she's going to be leaving Nigeria. And she says, I never used to feel like he was using me until this trip. And I said, bitch, he is not. If anything, you are. You're using the fact that he's blind to your advantage. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway. She's like, he never comes, at me in a loving way. Again, do you? But anyways, Chidi is coming to see her before she leaves. And his sister is coming with him, which I'm like, well, this is going to be interesting. But she's going to be hanging back while they have this conversation, unless he needs her because, Rayne potentially pops off. So he brought her gifts, which I'm like, listen, I understand the reason why he's doing this. I get it. Culturally, it's a cultural thing. But for someone like Rayne, who is unhinged and doesn't quite understand that, who thinks that maybe you're trying to win her back or something, or whatever, I don't know. This is a bad idea to gift her anything. Anyway, he has like a dress for her, necklace, earrings, and he's calling her babe. And I understand when you've been calling someone babe or whatever, or any pet name for 5 years and you have to come out of that. It's a transition. But again, someone who is unhinged, maybe not do that. Like, try to call her by her name or just don't say anything at all. Like, I understand, like, even like with my ex, it was a transition of not calling each other babe or whatever, because we were used to that. We had been doing that for 4 years. Even with my current relationship, when we were, we had our moments where we weren't together. Same thing. It's a transition. It's hard. I understand, but not with Rayne. But he thanks her for the love and he says he will miss her. And I'm like, again, do you know who you're talking to? This is a bad idea. She's like, yeah, I flew a long way to be with you and you couldn't even spend any time with me. And again, ma'am, I understand, but no one told you. You didn't have to go. You could have stayed home with your chickens. It would have been fine. He says things get messy. And she's like, but how? Like, how did it get messy? I didn't do anything to you. This bitch says I didn't do anything to you. Ma'am, you disrespected his family, his sister in particular. You are trying to force him into having sex with you because you, I don't know, want to suck out his energy. You disrespected the culture when it came to the chicken situation, because this is what they do. This is what they do in, not even just in Nigeria or Africa, other continents and other countries. This is what gets done, ma'am. This is how it is. Okay? You don't go to the grocery. Hell, it's done in America. It is done in North America. We just don't see it. There's a difference, but it's being done. Anyway, those are things that you did. You yelled at him. You pointed your finger in his face that he couldn't see. You did nothing. You did nothing. You've called him names. You have said highly inappropriate, disgusting things to him, but you did nothing. Okay. So, and when he tries to like get a word in, of course, she's like, no, let me finish. And that's the next thing you've done. Interrupted him, ignored him. That's another thing. And she says to him, You are an evil person. Why is he an evil person? Is he an evil person because he won't have sex with you? He won't be alone with you because you've literally talked about human sacrifices, not on the show, but you have? Like, but he's evil. He's the evil one. No one's evil in the situation. She's mentally ill, and he's trying to get the hell out of Dodge. But that's not him being evil. That's not even you being evil. No one's being evil. But you say to him that he's being evil. And again, those are the choice words you use because you know that is going to bother him. Um, yeah, that's going to bother him that you use that terminology, knowing this is a person who is trying to be with God. But evil, y'all. He's evil. And she then says to him, like, what is so bad about me? The only time he said that I enjoyed this relationship was in the beginning. Ah, shit. When he thought you were sane. Then when he saw the mental illness basically poke its way through, he's like, I've made a grave mistake. Seriously. Anyway, she says to him, well, you are the biggest scammer, which again, you don't know the definition of a scammer. This isn't it. And she then says to him, because again, the poor man is trying to get a word in, and she says to him, you learned to shut your mouth. And I'm like, I'm sorry, is he a child to you? Is he a child? No, but he may not necessarily, she might not see him as a child, but she definitely sees him as less than because she's white, she's American, and he's black and African. Let's be very real here. There is a power dynamic and not just about him being blind. So, um, he's like, okay. She's like, I think it's her that says, I, like when she's about like leaving, I'm going to go now. Love you. And he says, love you too. It was very weird. Why did you have to say love you? This is what? Anyway, basically she gets into the room. She's like, um, crying and blah, blah, blah. And I said, girl, instead of filming this or whatever is happening here, can you blow your nose? Because her drawing up her nose constantly drove me nuts. Like, blow your nose. Blow your nose. Anyways, that's episode 11. The only thing I'm going to say in episode 12 about them is Renee leaves Nigeria. Thank Jesus. And she's home and with her and other kids and her mom are there to greet her. And that's another story. And I don't think we're seeing them again because I have heard they're not going to be on the tell-all because the rumor is production is afraid of the other's safeties with Renee in the room. So I don't know if we'll see Chidi necessarily, but we potentially won't be seeing Renee. So toodles to them. And that's that. Let's move on to the next couple. So episode 11, we're doing Matilda and Niles. So we are back at her house. She basically wants to show him around, and he sees like the whole house, and you know, kitchen is not exactly what you would see in the States. It's a little different, obviously. Um, and he sees all the plantain, and he's like, "Why are there tires here?" And she says, "Oh, the tires are supposed to block the animals from getting to the plantain because they want to eat the plantain." I don't blame them. And then all of a sudden, while she's talking about this, only to see this goat just poke his head over and be like, "Did you say plantain? Did you say plantain? I'm coming for them plantains." Seriously, it was so, the timing was like, now I know it's probably editing, but the timing was incredible. I was dying. Anyway, he says when he gets into like her room, and she's kind of like, I think it was her sister sleeps on the bed, the rest of the siblings sleep on the floor, and this is basically just how it's been, right? And he's like, this is not a house. Okay, it's not a house. This is not how someone would live or should live, or how humans, he said, should live. He's being very blunt. And it's not great because he is saying a lot of this to her, a lot of his feelings to her, which hurts her feelings. And I think he refers to her room, or at least the house, I don't know if it's the house in general or the room itself, as a prison cell. And I'm like, oh no, 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 no. Don't do that. Now, I know, again, a lot of it is because of the autism. He's blunt. He's putting it all out there. I understand that. He doesn't have the wherewithal to be like, maybe I should keep this one to myself. Understood. But God. But then Matilda says that we are going to need money for the knocking, for the food. More on that later. So they're going to be going out and selling some plantain. He's helping her. She makes him shout out plantains and I think something to do with roasted nuts or something. And he says it like really loud, and she makes her giggle. She's like, no, you gotta say it with your sexy voice. And I'm like, wow, okay. And she tells him during this that it made her feel bad how he was kind of reacting about the house. And he apologizes, and he's fully aware, oh, there's my autism again, kind of just putting it all out there, and I'm really sorry. Um, and yeah, so they figure it out and it's fine. Um, she tells him though, she does need the money for the knock door, probably gonna be about $300 for the food. And he says, well, I'll try, but like, I'm not a genie. Like, I can't make things happen. If he doesn't have the money, he may not be able to make it happen. More on that later. So her brothers tell him later on that his parents have to kind of be there during the knock door because, like, his family is supposed to be basically presenting him to her family. This is the tradition. So without his family, like, how do you do this, right? Well, he says, well, the time difference is going to be a huge thing here. So, like, there's that part of it. But then there's also the part where the parents are just not for this. There's also that part. Um, she says, well, it's not going to be that, or he said it's not going to be that easy. Um, so basically what they've decided, they're going to probably need someone to basically step in as his family during this process. So we're like, what about Mr. Ark? Now, Mr. Ark is an interesting person. Mr. Ark is a person who in the community has some sort of like center or place that he's established for people with disabilities. He himself has a disability. He has a fake arm, but he, I guess, has connected with Mr. Ark back in America. So this is what they're going to be doing now. Mr. Ark apparently is very known in the community. Matilda says that he's a little odd. And also Mr. Ark doesn't like me. He's yelled at me a few times, she says. He seems very, we're going to meet him later. He seems very vocal. Obviously we've already met him. I mean, in this episode, we'll meet him later, but he's very, very vocal. So we'll get to that. Anyway, they said, well, you need to talk to him like now to kind of figure this out so he can be a part of this. And Matilda is very nervous. Like I said, she already said that he's respected in the community and he's yelled at her. So there's that too. But yeah, that's episode 11. Okay, let's go to episode 13 for Matilda and Niles. So today we are meeting Mr. R. What a character this man is, seriously. But
he says that, Niles says to Mr. Ark, I want to marry her and all that. My family isn't here though, so I don't have anyone to represent me. So would you represent me as my father? And Mr. Ark says, yes, I'm here as your father. And listen, y'all, he takes this role very seriously. Okay. So he says, but let me talk to you about marriage here in Ghana, because it's not like it is in the States. Okay. It's very serious. It's a very serious thing. It's supposed to be a very serious thing everywhere, but I digress. So he basically mentions that, or Niles, I should say, mentions that they're going to be doing the knocking now, but the actual wedding ceremony is going to be when I come back in a couple of months or so. And Mr. Ark is like, no, 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 no. This can't happen. We can't do it this way. This is not how it's supposed to be. The knocking, forget the knocking. It's the ceremony is the most important part. So, yikes. So he says, you're going to do everything at one time or don't do it at all. Okay. So either you're going to do it all now or you're going to do it all later, because he says, like, the knocking doesn't mean you are going to necessarily marry Matilda, because someone else could swoop in and marry Matilda. So, he says, I'm your father. Okay. I am your father and I know what's better. So you do everything now, like I said, or nothing. So he says that he's not ready to get married yet. Financially speaking, he's not ready to get married yet. But as Mr. Ark says, marriage is the actual custom, not the knocking. So they basically talk alone, Mr. Ark and Niles. And I think this was actually a good idea for them to talk, because I think this kind of gave Niles some information that maybe Matilda is withholding or over exaggerating. So I thought this was actually really good. It kind of just shows that I do think Mr. Ark is definitely looking out in his best interest, even if he's like, get married now or don't. But no, Mr. Ark basically says that, he didn't talk to me first. What happened here? You went and talked to the family first. This isn't how things go. Do you not know how we do things? And no, he doesn't. I partially blame Niles for that, because there's this beautiful invention we've had since the 90s called Google. But nonetheless, Matilda is also not telling him things, which goes to show, like, what's happening here. And yeah, so he says that you gotta go talk to the family. So we already did that. He's like, my God. And he's like, what did you tell them? This is a mistake. Like, you shouldn't have done this. So he does mention here, Niles does, to Mr. Ark about the fact that there's money that's supposed to be involved in the knocking. Like, he's expecting it's supposed to be this big thing. It's supposed to be like, 90 people at the knocking. Now, we've seen knock doors before. This is not the first time we've seen a knock door. We have seen many a person in Africa who may be different from country to country, or hell, even sometimes tribe to tribe. But besides all that, the generalization of a knock door, we've seen this before. We don't see 90 people involved in a knock door. So he clearly doesn't watch 90 Day Fiancé, because sometimes it is still the Learning Channel. So yeah, so he brings this up, and Mr. R says, we don't need anything that big for a knock door. It's a very simple thing. And then when Matilda's kind of brought back into this, and Mr. Ark's wife as well, this is the time where Niles decides to confront Matilda on this. And I'm just like, yikes. Like, he's going really hard on her in front of Mr. Ark and his wife. And he's like, me meeting your family was not customary. Did you know this? And she's like, yes, I'm sorry. Now, she does explain herself and says the reason I did this was because you're going back on the wedding. I need you to explain that to my family, which fair. He says it makes us look bad.
You know, it makes me look bad, makes you look bad, makes us look bad. It's not good. And he does get a little harsh with her again in front of Mr. Ark. And he's like, whoa, 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 be soft, be soft. Like, it's fine. But I think a lot of this is his anxieties coming out. And I kind of understand it. Like, obviously, I'm not on the spectrum, so it's a lot different. But when you're have an idea in your head as what's going to happen to some extent, you're planning for that to happen as you think it's supposed to. And then you don't have it happen that way. You lose the control. With losing the control, the anxiety sets in. So I think for Niles right now, there's also the processing involved here, how he's processing everything at this moment. The fact that he's also processing that she didn't tell me this before. Why didn't she tell me this before? And then also he is losing control over the situation, which creates the anxiety. So at this point, though, Matilda is getting pissed at him about everything. And when they're kind of on their own now, heading back to the hotel, she's like, you disgrace me in front of Mr. Ark. If you remember, he's very important in the community. And she's also had a little bit of awkward situation with him herself. And at this point, they're having a heated ass argument. I didn't catch everything because there's a lot of back and forth. And he says, like, you didn't tell me the importance of seeing Mr. Ark first. And she says to him that's a lie. Well, then here's my thing. I understand her perspective on things, but here's the thing. Yes, he didn't. Again, you can't predict the future. Everything, everything is 2020, right? You come in things and you're like, oh, but you don't know that in the moment, right? So if she just went with how things were supposed to be and I'm going ahead here, but had him see Mr. Ark first as it's supposed to go, you wouldn't have had to tell your family a damn thing about him not wanting to get married on this trip. Because as we know, he ultimately decides to marry her after all on this trip. She should have just gone with it the way it's supposed to go. Because at the end of the day, she's still getting what she wants. She's getting married. So, but yeah, she says that's a lie. And he's like, I asked about the customs. You left this part out. Now, here's the thing. Is it possible? Because again, we've seen this with Statler and Dempsey as well, where Dempsey will swear on everything she's told her, what she needs to tell her. But then Statler's like, I don't remember having this conversation. Now, it's very possible they had the conversation. And they were seeing this a little bit with Niles and Matilda now, where it's like she says that she tells him something, and he is saying, I don't recall. I'm not familiar. Like, that's literally what's happening here. And is it possible she had that conversation with him? Absolutely. Do I think she did? Yeah, I actually do think she did. Is it possible that he just doesn't remember every little bit of everything? Also possible, especially if he thinks, well, I'm not marrying her now anyways, so why would I need Mr. Ark in this moment? You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to think how he would think. But yeah, it's a lot here. But yeah, he says I should have seen him first, not before I saw your family, or not after I saw your family. And then he's like, I was told also that the knocking is supposed to be a small affair. Why is there 90 people coming? Why do I have to pay $200 for food? And she's like, well, my friends are coming. My mom has friends too, but it's not supposed to be like that. That is what the ceremony is for. This knock door is supposed to be about the families presenting the soon to be betrothed people to each other. So that should really just be within the immediate family. It's not an engagement party. I don't know if engagement parties are even custom in any African culture. So I don't know, but it's not supposed to be an engagement party. This is a knock door situation where you're going and presenting yourself and saying, I want to marry your daughter. How much for her? And you exchange the bride price and you go out and buy what you need to go buy. How are they supposed to do this in a day? I have questions. Anyways, this is what this is for. This is not an engagement party, ma'am. So yeah, she's saying this, I have that, and whatever. And he says, well, according to Mr. Ark, none of that should be happening. And it's the food, like it's $200. And she's like, well, I invited all of these people to make you happy. And he was like, bitch, what made you think that'd make me happy? And that's true. That kind of goes to show it's not about Niles. It's not about making Niles happy. It's about you. You wanted this. Niles didn't want this. I mean, listen, as a person who is not neurodivergent, I don't want 90 people I don't know anywhere around me. Like, I don't want that, I don't know a single person. And you want to invite 90 people of those people? No, thank you. I can't even picture a worse hell. And this is a person who is on the spectrum. He's like, the fuck, I want this. I don't want this. This is because it's not about Niles. It's about her. And she's making it seem, she's trying to put a cute little thing on it to make it look about him. It's not about him. And that's okay. I'm not disparaging her on that. I'm just saying, be truthful, be honest, say it's about you. This is what you want. And you kept that from him. Be 100 with him. So she kind of gets in on him again. And he's like, stop talking right this instant. And I'm like, God damn. But she doesn't stop talking, y'all. She keeps going. But he's like, I just need a few moments. Because again, he needs to process. He's getting overwhelmed. You can literally see physically he's overwhelmed in this moment. And he's just like, please stop. Like, I need a minute. So, but that's basically it for Niles and Matilda for this episode. So the next couple we're going to be doing is Joe, who's 34, lives in West Palm Beach, Florida, and Magda, who's 23, and she lives in Poland. This is going to be first episode 11. So again, kind of similar to what we did with Bozo and Vanja. We're going to be kind of really digging deep with them and initially. So episode 11, we have Italians cooking, and I said, I want to go to there. And Joe comes in, and he's like, I'm Playboy Joe and whatever else Joe and whatever. He grew up in Jersey, but lives, like I said, in West Palm Beach, and he goes back for family dinners because, like, that is the only thing you can do, right? Is go home and do that. Absolutely. Are you kidding? First of all, I don't have issue with him leaving Jersey. It's cold. I get it during the winter, but the food. Anyway, his dad says that he has a lot of girlfriends or has had a lot of girlfriends, and you're like, oh God. So the Playboy part is real. He's like, some have lasted longer than others. Some of them you probably never meet. Some of them only maybe last the night. But anyways, we kind of talk more about Magda, and he said he met her 5 months ago while actually talking to another friend of his. I want to understand the situation. Which friend? Who is this friend? And has he seen her naked before? I want to know. If it's a she, I don't know. Anyway, he says that she's Polish. She was actually on her way back home. She was only here visiting. She was on her way home. So I think at this point, meet her. and she plays volleyball. Or no, we hadn't met her yet. So yeah, he says that she plays volleyball, which he thinks is great. And he says they do everything together except for pooping. They don't poop together. Not like the mother fools that have to poop together. Anyway, she does not want to poop with him. So yeah. So then yeah, anyway, they with his family, they're kind of dogging him a little bit, being like, "Oh, you're like Leo DiCaprio with the age difference." And I said, "No, it's still worse. That's still worse." And she was a corrections officer, was being the word here, because she quit her job. She quit her job with the anticipation that she'll be able to move to the States. And I, like her family here, thinking, why quit your job before you've even started the K1 process? Why wouldn't you keep your job, have money coming in, and, whatever, right? Like you still have money coming. Why would you quit your job? It's weird. And again, before really understanding the ins and outs of her, initially hearing this, you're like, oh, is she like using him? Of course she has to be. I think it's a lot deeper than that. I won't go ahead yet, but I think it is a lot deeper than that with her. And I was like, it's not a normal choice to quit your job before you have even started the damn process. Like they're not engaged. Anyway, she said that she wants to be a mom. She was like, and all of this. She wants to have to be the focus. Um, she wants kids right away. Let me remind everybody, she is 23 years old. There is no rush. But for some reason, she's rushing things. More on that later. But someone's like, that feels like a red flag. She's quit her job. She wants kids right away. Family is just a little worried that she might be using him. Anyway, he talks to his friends in the next scene. He's back in well, is it Miami? I don't know. He's back in Florida, guys. And he talks to his family, or his friends are by the pool. And he says that, Magda is mad at me because, well, I didn't realize we were exclusive. Thought we were still, talking to other people. But apparently, we were supposed to be exclusive, and I was talking to other women when we first started talking. And I may or may not have had sex with someone else. My guy. Now, was a conversation never happened? Like, it never happened between the two of you, where you would have talked about exclusivity? Did that never happen? Because if she thinks you're it, this is it, right? But you think it's not, there's a miscommunication happening here. You know what I mean? Like, uh, I just, I don't know, man. Something's not, I don't know who to blame. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. I want to know who I'm supposed to direct my anger towards. Am I supposed to direct it at her? Am I supposed to direct it at him? I don't know. And the thing is, if they weren't actually like together, then yeah, you can't get mad, or you have to have conversations about this. Communicate with each other. That doesn't appear to have happened. I don't know. Anyway, and so it was about 2.5 months ago that he had sex with this person. She thought that they were exclusive, as I said. He did not, as I said. But he is a horny guy, he says. And I'm like, I feel like, guys, and I'm not trying to say this because he's Italian, but I feel like I'm watching Jersey Shore. He's Mike the Situation or whomever, and maybe more like a Vinny. But yeah, and he's just out there just, swinging his dick and, you know what I mean? It's, I don't know. Anyway, But now he says I have to show her my location. She needs to know where he is at all times. And they're like, his friends are like, well, since we're talking about you having sex with other women, does she know you and Jill dated? What? Now, let me say something. Jill is gorgeous. Okay. Jill is gorgeous. Magda is not going to be okay with this. They apparently dated about 7 years ago. So it's been a while. For under a year, I think he said, or about a year. Listen, at the end of the day, here's where this is at, okay? For a woman like Magda, who's also gorgeous, but a woman like her, as long as you've seen the woman naked, we're gonna have a problem. Okay, it doesn't matter how long ago it's been, doesn't matter how platonic it may be now. You guys were never platonic at some point. You guys have seen each other naked, most likely. You probably have had sex a few times, at least, just a few. That's gonna be a problem for her. And he's like, well, no, because it was 7 years ago. Uh, More on that later. Because, like, I think he knows maybe he should say something to her, but at the same time, he's just like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It was so long ago. Okay, well, anyways, in the next scene with them, he is at the store and she's on the phone with him. And he's like, I can't wait to use all of the senses. When he sees her, he's like, I've only been really using like my eyes, my ears. He wants to use all the senses. So as he's kind of going through stuff, purchasing things that he feels like he'll need to bring with him, he's like, what about condoms? Should I buy condoms? And she says no. And he's like, oh, you got some? She says no. She does not want to have sex with him when he gets there. She would rather wait to have sex with him when she's in the States. Okay. Here are my thoughts and here are my feelings on this. Okay, guys. Bear with me here. Okay. I'm going to go both sides here. On the one hand, she is allowed to have sex with whomever or perhaps no sex at all. That is her prerogative. That is something she can decide to do or not do. 100%. But on the other hand, you are complaining about the fact that this man has cheated on you. He's made it very freaking clear he's a horny guy. And you're not going to have sex with him. And he's expected to be around you and not want to just stick it in. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe for me, it's just like, I can't compute because if I'm into somebody, no matter what the situation may or may not be, if I'm into you and I'm sexually interested in you, I'm fucking. What the hell? And that's maybe me, and that's okay. I'm said it straight up. Maybe that's me. I don't quite understand this. It doesn't make sense to me. And the other part of it for me that doesn't make sense is what is it about being in America that's going to make that different? You don't trust him. You don't trust him. Whether you're in America or you're in Poland, you don't trust him. That's not going to change depending on the location. You know what I mean? So I don't know how this is going to turn out. I personally feel that's going to drive him nuts. I think that would drive anyone nuts, mind you, but I think the part for him I think is confusing. He says it is we talk about stuff. Like they've seen each other's bits and bops, okay? And you're telling him he can't stick his bit in your bop, you know what I mean? Like it's that part for me, it's that part I will never understand. And that's not the first time that we've seen this. You can't talk like that or show off your body like that and then say, oh, but I'm not going to have sex with you. It's confusing. That's confusing. That'd be confusing for me. Like, I'm like, but I've seen your dick. What do you mean? You know what I mean? It would be really weird. Really, really weird. Anyway, we'll see how that turns out, I guess. The next morning, though, this is the day of him supposed to be leaving. Production is there 4 hours before his flight, and they're knocking, they're calling, nothing. And I'm like, oh, he isn't going now, is he? Because this girl says she doesn't want to have sex with him. He's like, fuck that shit, I'm out. You know what I mean? I'm like, what is happening? Why isn't he showing up? It's 1 hour later, so it's 3 hours before his flight. This is when he should be at the airport, mind you. Still no answer. They call and they text. Nothing, no answer. And that is how they end episode 11. Now, episode 12, there's still no answer from him. He does finally answer, and he's like, oh shit, guys, I slept in. And I'm literally over here being like, we slept in. Like, it was freaking incredible. I'm like, did the power go out? Did your alarm clock not work? Like, what happened? Like, we don't have those plug-in ones anymore. I don't even know if we even use regular alarm clocks anymore. I personally use my phone, but I'm just like, no, this is incredible. We slept in. Okay, so he's like, yeah, I guess we gotta leave in like, I think they tell him they gotta leave in like 20 minutes because like you are supposed to be there now. Like you should be there now. And he's still kind of panicky. And he says, fuck, I still gotta go poop. Like he has to, I don't even know if he showered. I don't know what happened. He still has things to still pack. He has to poop. He doesn't have time, y'all. But he says so it will be hard to plan this I guess the rest of my life without knowing if we're going to be sexually compatible. And again, this part I understand. I would not I mean, again, different times, and I understand this than we've ever dealt before. But I would not want to have like marry someone without knowing we're sexually compatible. I wouldn't want to propose to you or be proposed to you if we weren't sexually compatible or if I didn't even know if we're sexually compatible. I mean, y'all, let me say this straight up. I would not have married my ex-husband if I didn't think the sex was good. Like, the man blew my mind. I'm marrying him. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, you need to know whether or not this person is going to be what you want long term and need long term. How do you know that unless you've actually had sex with the person? I understand what he's saying. But again, like as I said, I understand where she's coming from. This generally speaking of I'm not ready to have sex yet. Fine. Okay, that's fine. Maybe you don't maybe ready to have sex right off the bat. Maybe you need a couple of days or a week or whatever. Fine. But just say that you don't want to have sex with him because you don't trust him because he's cheated on you. Man, that is not going to change. Depending, like I said, like it's just, anyway. So they're in the car now, heading to the airport. My guy has, I don't know, 2 hours left. He's supposed to have been there an hour ago. And he's like, oh shit, guys, can we go back? I forgot my passport. I cannot. What is I forgot my passport? Sir, you stick that shit in your suitcase just in case. Well, I forgot. You kind of need that. You can't leave the country without your passport. Wow. Anyway, it's 2 hours before the flight, and they have to turn around to get his freaking passport. This idiot. Anyway, somehow he made the flight, though, on time. So he's on his way to Poland. And here is where we meet Magda. She's playing volleyball. She says volleyball is her life. She has a dog named Hades. I can't remember what kind of dog this was again now. Is it a Dober? I think it's a Doberman, I think. Anyway, she says that this dog actually bit her ex in the penis, and I'm like, that's poetic. If true. I don't know if it's true, but that's pretty poetic if it is true. Um, so it looks like Magda has a little bit of a history of moving from men because, and this is where I'm like, here we go. After 3 months of dating a guy, she moved to Germany for this person. However, y'all, it didn't work out the way she wanted to because he cheated on her with his ex. She walked in and saw it in motion. I think they were just making out. Okay, that sucks, first of all. This guy is a dirtbag for doing that. But why do you move so fast? This is why she's very impulsive with her decisions. You meet a guy online, you move for him after 3 months, and that doesn't work out. Now you're with Joe. You quit your job without even having a K1 visa in process. You are talking about wanting to, the marriage part is whatever. This is called 90-day fiance. Before the 90 days, you're supposed to be getting engaged. This is the whole deal. Okay, get it. So not so much about that. But you are talking about the fact that you want to have kids right away. You're 23 years old. And you basically, there's going to be so much happening. You're going to be transitioning from there to being back in the States permanently. And you're going to have to go through the K1 visa process and not even give yourself a minute before we talk about having kids. She's very impulsive. And I think that's a red flag. And trust me, y'all, he will think it's also a red flag when we get to it for him when he finds us out. But she says straight up, Joe does not know about this guy in this situation of her moving to Germany. He will soon. Anyway, he gets to Poland, and their first meeting was cute. He lifts her up to the point where her ass is just out there for the whole damn airport and national television to see. It's out there, all the way out. It was, yep. But that's the end of episode 12 for them. All right, so episode 13 for Joe and Magda. Not a lot. So he says that he doesn't know how to say, or not even so much he says it, I say it. I think our whole world says it at this point. He doesn't know how to say his girlfriend's name. He says Magna, not magma, Magna. It's Magda. It's not really hard. It's not a hard name to say. Now, maybe I have the privilege of knowing how to say Magda because we've had a Magda in the reality world on Below Deck Down Under. So it's not difficult to say Magda. Anyway, they're sleeping in different rooms for the first night because no sex. Her vagina is closed until the foreseeable future. She then says that she wants to be engaged before there is sex involved. Which, okay. And listen, not for me, but okay for her. This is what she wants to do. For me, I'm like, no, I need to test drive that. I need to make sure that my vagina is going to be happy for all eternity. So I make sure. Anyways, so he says, and again, I think this is again a very not even American, North American way of thinking, or maybe I should just even say Canadian and or American way of thinking. I don't know if even like Mexico would think this way. I don't know, maybe, but they he kind of says to her, well, I wouldn't get engaged to anyone unless I know I'm sexually compatible with that person. And again, I hear him. I understand him. Hell, I even agree with him. But this is how she feels. And yeah, sure, she may be basing this on because he cheated on her. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know. The right thing is whatever is right for her at the end of the day. So she kind of says, though, in terms of sexual compatibility, doesn't matter to her. It's not the most important thing, which, again, I understand. Kind of agree. For me, if I think what's the most important thing in terms of being engaged and getting married, compatibility, yes, but not compatibility in the bedroom, it would be the most important thing to me. That, you know, do our personalities mesh? Do our hopes and dreams or whatever mesh? Whatever. You know, does our just how we go through life, is that similar? Do you complement each other? Again, not literally complement each other. I mean, like, just as a couple, does it work? That's what's more important. But very slightly underneath that is, can you make me orgasm? Just slightly underneath that. So I understand her and I understand him. But the fact that they're not quite on the same page with each other, they're not going to work. But anyways, that's it for episode 13 for them. All right, let's move on to Veah and Sunny. So episode 11 is much shorter than what we'll do for episode 12. So she's meeting with his friends while playing cricket. And she's just not dressed for the cricket, y'all. She's not dressed for the cricket. His friend is like, so he told me that she's not Muslim. That's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. She's gonna be Muslim. Okay. She has to be. She has to be. And she says that when I meet his family, listen, y'all, I'm pointing this out for a reason. She literally says to his friend, when I meet his family, I will cover my tattoos. Hold on to that for a later date. So, so they basically say, about the, changing the religion. Changing my religion. Okay, so he never apparently told her about that because I don't know. Okay, it's either he feels like he doesn't need to tell her that he doesn't think that it's going to be a problem whether she converts or not, or it could be that he knows this could potentially freak her out because, again, y'all, she deals with some religious trauma. So I don't know what he knows about that. So I don't know. So he explains the reason he never told her about the fact that she might need to convert is because he was just focused on them getting to know each other and not focus on the religion. And that his friend basically asked, like, do you trust her? I guess with the whole like emotional support Rory situation. And he says, I'm trying. We have been fighting about emotional support Rory and the fact that he's here. And his friend's like, well, why did you come with your ex? Which, fair question. Okay. It's a fair question. And she's like, well, I didn't want to come alone. So like I brought him for support. And I'm just like, bitch, don't you have a friend who's not your ex-boyfriend? I don't know if this girl does really. I mean, I don't know. Anyway, that's basically that though. Episode 12, they did the dirty, y'all. They did it. They have sex. And it seemed like it was incredible. But he's like, oh, I think I wrote down, why is her voice even higher than before? Because you got fucked, y'all. He says that he tried to break the bed. Don't break the bed. It's not your bed. You're gonna have to, the hotel is not gonna be happy. Don't break the bed. But apparently had sex 3 times. She apparently taught him a lot of things. He seemed to know, or she says he seemed to know kind of what he was doing. Like, she didn't need to teach him anything. Um, they did not sleep. Like, they're just going off about it. Anyway, he says, we worked for each other. And I said, Jesus. I mean, I get it. I get what he's saying. But my God. Anyway, um, he's like, but of course, as a man, I worked harder. It's okay. Um, anyway, so basically then production asks him, have you ever heard of makeup sex? And he's like, ooh, what's that? I think I need to do that. And they're like, I think you just did. Anyway, then she asks him, so would you be willing to meet Rory? And I'm like, girlfriend, no. Y'all just had the best sex ever. My guy is on cloud 10. Okay, he's up there. He's about over here being like, I want to try that, even though he has no clue he already did. He's talking about how he's breaking the bed 3 times, no sleep. I worked harder and all this shit. He's loving life right now. And you want to bring in the X into the situation. That's when the dick goes, "Meow." Like, what are you doing? So, she says, like, we had sex, so this would be the perfect opportunity to bring up emotional support, Rory. And I said, no, it's not. Still not a good time. It's never going to be a good time, really. But guess what, guys? I guess she has something going on here because he's so satiated by the sex that he's like, okay, I'll meet Rory. And I'm like, wow, her vagine must be just amazing. My God. Anyway, we got our emotional support Rory playing pool by himself, waiting for them to show up. Really and truly, forget Sunny and Veah. I want a sideshow of what the hell has Rory been doing while in South Africa by himself. I want to know. I want to know, what were you doing? Anyway, so hopefully he doesn't come in hot, he says. But they get there and Rory goes to shake his hand. Sunny did not want to do that, by the way, y'all. But they play pool and Sunny asks Veah, so who do you think is gonna win? And I'm like, oh no. This is a pissing contest. This has nothing to do with the pool. Um and it does look like he came to beat me, Rory says, and he does apologize. Oh, our emotional support Rory here apologizes with him, being here. Obviously that causing issues. And Sunny's like, well, why did you come then? And he said, well, she asked me to because she didn't feel comfortable coming here by herself. And Sunny's basically like, here, like, it's bullshit that you guys are friends. Like, that just wouldn't happen here. And Rory says, well, if she doesn't need me here, I will respect that and I will leave. So, like, he's fully says, listen, my emotional support services can end. If she doesn't need me, then I'll leave. But Veah says she still needs her emotional support, Rory. His services are still required. And she still feels unsafe, is the word she uses. Unsafe with the fact that they just have like this argument, even though y'all just banged it out, she still feels unsafe. Which I don't want to discredit how she feels, but at the same time, I'm just like, but my girl, you're in the makeup stage. we can move on past all of this, right? Anyway, Sunny blames Rory for this because he needs to blame somebody. And I'm just like, but this isn't Rory's fault. First of all, it's not Rory's fault that you have jealous issues. And it's not Rory's fault that Veah needs him there or needs someone there. She has her insecurities. She has her traumas. I understand where she's coming from. I just wish that maybe she just brought the dog instead of Rory, but who am I? Um, but anyway, he says that Rory is the problem. And he says, listen, that's between the two of you, okay? That has nothing to do with me. And Sunny says, Veah, you need to choose what you want. Like, do you want him here or do you want him to leave? And Veah says, I'm not telling him to leave. Like, I'm just not. And Sunny says, well, then fuck it then. Stay with him. He'll take care of you. And I said, y'all could still be riding the high from earlier. Instead, we are here with our emotional support, Rory, and Jesus Christ. But anyways, that's it for episode 12. Okay, so episode 13 for Veah and Sunny. Again, not a lot. And episode 13 for them was literally just really small. Sorry, guys, if that didn't sound close enough. I keep doing this, moving the mic away from myself, and then bringing, yeah, anyways, forget it. Anyway, so she goes after him and she says, like, I don't want to choose because she needs her emotional support, Rory, but then she also needs a man that's, keeping her warm at night at the moment. And he tells her, he tells her, like, let him go. Like, I can't take this anymore. And she says, I choose you, which is okay. But I also think she needs to choose her emotional support, Rory. I don't even know what the right thing to do here. And honestly, the right thing to do in this moment is Veah needs to go home with her emotional support, Rory, because this girl should not be in this relationship right now. She needs to work on her. And that might take another decade, but like, honestly, there's so much trauma with this girl. It's sad. Then they just dip out and leave Rory there to kind of figure it out by himself. And I'm just like, is no one gonna tell him? This is like in the airport where he has to sit there, wait for 777. What you gonna do? Text him 777, you can go now? Like, what? Oh, man. But anyways, yes, that was really quick. That's it for them for this episode. Okay, Brian and Ingrid. So episode 12, there was nothing to talk about in episode 11. I don't remember if they were in episode 11, but episode 12. Why does this man keep buying toys for her kids? I'm sorry, it feels gross to me. I want him away from her children. Anyway, Ingrid tells him that the only man her parents ever liked was her ex-husband. Well, that didn't turn out well. Like, shit. But they are going to be going to Recife, where he used to live with his ex-wife. Ew. Oh, but they will not be staying together in the same room or hotel. Listen, she wants to be as far away from him as possible that she can't even get a room in the same hotel. She has to go elsewhere entirely. It's hilarious. Although I think he says that he gets an apartment, an actual apartment. So she might be in a hotel, whereas he's in like an apartment. So maybe like that's potentially why they're separated in just different places. But couldn't you have gotten a 2-bedroom apartment, have her sleep in the 1 bedroom, you sleep in your bedroom? But maybe she doesn't trust him. Honestly, I wouldn't trust him. I wouldn't want to be in the same room with him either, in the same unit with him. Because I feel like he would just kind of just come over into my room and try and do shit. I do not trust this man. Anyway, they're not just having some fun. He says, you should come to my apartment, check it out, check me out. No, nothing. Okay. He's like, nothing will happen, I promise. I'm gonna have. Listen, sir, The minute you stepped foot in her presence, you're out here whipping out your dick and whipping out condoms and shit and doing like, listen, things that I understand you have to do, but that's doing something. Ugh, this guy, man, I'm telling you. Then they talk about, the possibility of a future with them together. He says, yeah, but I'm older now. I may need a little more help. Okay. And she says, well, listen, I will not be a mother or a babysitter to anyone. Like, you're independent. You figure shit out for yourself all the time. Why do I need to figure it out for you? Now, listen, do I understand what he's saying? That his body's going to be run down. That, I totally get that. However, if this is your main motivation for being in a relationship is to find a caregiver for you for when you're older, then that is just, and that's why you date younger women. Let's be real here, guys. That is just, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like him. I don't like this whole situation. Fuck this. I'll be like, no. Like, no. Anyway. That's it for episode 12 for Brian and Ingrid.
Okay, so episode 13 for Brian and Ingrid. So we're heading to a restaurant to meet one of his friends who's also named Brian. This is confusing. Hey, Brian. Yeah? Which one? Which one are you talking to? What the hell? Anyways, so I'm happy that my name is so unique that there's not many people with my name. I did meet one person with my name back in high school, but she spelled her name differently than I did. But yeah, that just kind of goes to show how rare my name is, and I'm actually okay with it. But he kind of says to Brian says to Brian, I have things to deal with here. He's dealing with that pesky divorce, the one where he was cheating on her and she said to hell with you and probably filed for divorce or whatever the hell may happen. I don't know. He says that she was after him for a green card and that's why he divorced her. Now, if you remember in the beginning of said podcast when we started with B90, that is not the case. But anyways. So apparently though, this is the first time Ingrid is finding out that he's been married 4 times. And he says, oh, what? You didn't know? You didn't know? Sir, how does one know anything about your life unless you tell them? You stupid, narcissistic piece of shit. Listen, y'all, you can be disabled and still be a piece of shit. This guy sucks. He sucks so bad. Like, everything is on her. Oh, you didn't know how old I was? You thought I was this age? Well, how does that work? That math isn't math. Fuck you, sir. I shouldn't have to do the math on anything. I don't know. Maybe you had your child at 13. How am I supposed to fucking know? You know what I mean? And it's just constantly putting things on her. Oh, you didn't know I was married 4 times? Shit. I mean, how could you not know? Because you didn't tell me. Or you, better yet, he probably sugarcoat because she knows he was married, but thought he only got married, I think, twice, not 4 times. There's a difference between twice and 4 times. But then he says, oh, and here's the other thing too that you should know, even though I probably didn't tell you. I had 3 fiancés as well. And like her jaw just drops at this point, which I would too. Be like, what the hell? Like, what's going on here? Anyway, she says, you didn't tell me about the fiancés. And he's like, what do you mean I'm an open book? No, you're not. No, you're not. You can't say you're an open book. No, because you're not. You're only an open book as to how it suits you. Not about you're just an open book. And again, there's one thing about asking somebody about, different things about what you like to do or what's your favorite color or something like that. Those kinds of questions that people will ask. But something like,
how many times you were married, how many kids do you have, stuff like that. You should just be offering that type of information. Like, I can't go to a person and be like, yeah, I was married. Oh, what? I didn't tell you. I didn't tell you. That's so weird. I figured you would just know. No, I have to offer that information. And that's something I would offer someone because that's a big deal. Like, I just, he sucks. Anyway, so she then says, oh, well, those other women, do they know how old you actually are? Boom. This, that was good. That was good. Props to that. I liked that. The answer is probably no. At least the ones that he's met since being older, at least. That's a no. So he's like, of course they did know. And he says, I put 45 on my social media, or not social media, but the dating profiles, because I just didn't want to get grandmas. So there you go. That just goes, so you think, excuse me, but someone who's 46 is a grandma, apparently, in his books. Like, the fuck? This, like, I'm going to keep saying it. He sucks. He sucks. He just sucks. Because, no, first of all, yes, but no. Yes, you're not trying to get like a grandma to like you or something. His words, not mine. But not for the reasons of like, oh, I don't want someone who's like in their 70s or something. You're doing it because you're trying to bait young women because you're like, not a pedophile, that's the wrong word to use. Yikes, guys. You're a predator. Hell, same thing. You're a predator though. This is why you do it. He's like an Ed. He's like an Ed. He goes up there with the Eds of this universe. He sucks. So he's like, she says, sorry, don't blame me if I didn't do the math, because he gives like attitude about how could I have like a 30-something-year-old when I'm 45? You know what? It's possible. It's very possible. It's not impossible. As long as you have your things working and she has had her period, it's very possible. It's not impossible if you're 45, or in that case, you would have been 47, I guess. But like, in her mind, like, come on. So she's like, she's only judging me. She's only judging me. That's all she's doing. She's only judging me. You deserve it. You deserve to be judged. She sucks. It's not about being judgmental. She's not being judgmental. She's being absolutely 100% real here. She's like, you lied to me. I don't know who this person is, because everything you told me, or lack thereof, has been a lie. So he says, I didn't lie about my relationships. He's being judged for his relationships, whatever. So then we talk about this is, I don't know why I put it here. This is actually for Magda and Joe. So this is back to episode 13 again. I don't know why I put this with Brian and Ingrid, but yeah, the other thing that happened, which I think I missed, is that they kept talking about the cheating, and the fact that y'all wore a ring on her. She bought herself a ring, wore it on her left hand so people knew she was with somebody. Here's the thing. It's weird because, again, I think I've talked about this. Unless we know what conversations these two were having with each other in terms of the being exclusive, then it's not cheating if you never had those conversations. But yeah, it's a little messed up. But he's like, whoa, like she's moving really quickly here. Going to places that he's not quite ready to be at. But anyways, That's it for Brian and Ingrid and the little snippet with Joe and Magda. I completely forgot about this. I don't know how that happened, but anyways, that's it for that. Next, Loren and Faith go. Episode 12. Okay, here we go. So we're meeting her family, her mom and her siblings, and we see her sister, Veah, who is also trans. Anyway, we're having food, eating something. And I wrote down, why in the God's name is he eating the food like that? Did you see the way he was eating this food? He's like shoveling it into his mouth. Like it was just anything this man does makes me sick, honestly. But I'm just like, what is happening? Anyway, he says that he would choose different flowers, I wrote. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Or no, sorry, choose different flavors is what he said. Choose different flavors for the food. Maybe something more Filipino-y. And I said, the fuck are you talking about? First of all, white boy from wherever the bumfuck US, you don't have any say as to what Filipino food should or should not taste like. Okay? And for you to then critique her mother's food about it needs more flavors, maybe something more what the hell does that mean? What does that mean? That's like someone saying, "Oh, the food needs something maybe something more Jamaican-y." What does that mean? What do you mean more Jamaican? I don't know what that means. Like, what are you? What? This? Oh God, I hate him. Anyway, she tells her family that we're just friends. We're just friends. Hey, best friend. And he says that he is only attracted to trans women because he fetishizes them. Let's be real. No regular women, just trans women. Okay. I think the last thing a trans woman wants to hear is no regular women because they want to be just a woman. And for you to say no regular women is really disgusting. It's just gross. I can't. The family, for whatever reason, I will never understand, like him. But anyways, this part, y'all, let's get to it. So Faith is spending some time with her sisters, just them, while he's still shoveling more Filipino food into his mouth. And they ask her, why is he just a friend now that you guys were together, right? And she says, well, he has an illness. And her, her sisters are like, what illness? And she's like, you know the illness of the whores? It's like literally a horror story. It's like she's literally it's like what's that one there? That show that they did. Oh shoot. The one they did around the fire. There's Goosebumps and um it's not even coming to me right now. I am not okay. Um yeah, anyways. It was like the scary story kind of told the dark situation, but it's not what it was called. But anyways, they like when they're like, I have a story and blah blah blah, and they would like tell stories and take turns telling stories. That's what it felt like when the sun was hitting her face in that way. It's like, have you heard about the illness of the whores? It was just so like it was so dramatic, but it was perfect. It was so funny. Um, so she's like, he has an STD, he's sleeping with others. I was angry about it. And her sister, that's the Veah, says, listen, if I was with someone who would go like come all the way over here for me, like I would still go for it. And you're like, oh my God, no. But I do want to give her the respect in what she's saying here. Because I think that's something we'll, as cis women, will never really truly understand where she's coming from. Especially women, I guess it does, women in the Philippines for sure, or trans women in the Philippines. She says, her other sister kind of says, the fuck? And Veah says, "And listen, you're not going to understand. You're not gay. So it's hard to get people to accept us." And he traveled all the way here to be with you, so he must be real. And Faith says, "But we also have the right to be loved and respected." So although I understand where she's coming from with what she's saying, and I don't think I'll ever fully get it, but I do hear what she's saying, the fact of we don't get accepted. We have people coming over here just wanting to, have sex with a ladyboy and, and fetishize that. And you have the person here who's coming here because he seems to really want to be with you. But this just shows, kind of seeing this, the dangers of that thought process. And again, I'm not saying Loren is violent in any way, but it just, the dangers don't have to be just violent, but like the dangers of this, because even though they say this and it should be this way, in reality, he doesn't care about her. He doesn't care about anyone really. But the thing he cares more about is fetishizing a woman who's trans. And that's basically all this is. If it's not going to be her, it's going to be someone else. He does not care about Faith. He just cares about what Faith is. And that is a trans woman. It's so gross. For Loren, and it's so sad to hear that any little bit of acceptance or any little bit of anything from anyone, the trans community or trans women, especially in maybe Asian countries or maybe just generally, honestly, is willing to accept this. We gotta do better. We gotta do better. Because yes, Faith is correct. Just because I choose, not even so much choose, here's what I'll say: choose to live my authentic life does not mean that I don't deserve the same level of respect than a person who was born into what I want to be. This is not fair. Anyway, that's it for episode 12. Okay, so episode 13 for Loren and Faith. So today is their last day it's Lady, I believe is how you say it. And he says, don't worry, I won't cheat on you, blah, blah, blah. Because I think they're kind of having was this when they had the conversation about, oh, I'll just marry your mom? Anyways, we'll get to it. So he says he won't cheat on her because y'all, the cheating was just a miscommunication. Listen, you know what? I'm just preaching to the choir. I'm sure we can all agree here. It's not a miscommunication. You just didn't tell her. And you knew if you told her it was going to be a problem, which is why you didn't tell her. And then God's like, no. Gonorrhea for you. Anyway, so he's like, so am I friend Loren or am I boyfriend Loren? And I said, ugh, if you have to ask. Anyways, unfortunately though, Faith, I think listening to her sister, says boyfriend. And I'm like, oh God, I want so much more for her because she deserves it. She doesn't deserve this baby man who can't even, well, it's not that he can't get a job or keep one. He refuses to because child support. Anyway, so he's like, we got to figure out a way for me to, stay here, right? Right. So we can't get married in the Philippines because in the Philippines, they do not recognize same-sex marriage. So he's like, so we could go to Thailand where they do recognize same-sex marriage because love is love. Okay. Which, yeah, but not for you. Not for you, Loren. Anyway, he said, so, we could do that. He can apply for citizenship in the Philippines and then we're good to go, right? Seems like a logical plan. But then he says, or option 2, what if I just marry someone here in order to have citizenship? In other words, fraud the government. And he's like, but I know you wouldn't want me to marry just any old woman. No. How about I marry your mom? What about that, huh? Huh? It's a good idea, huh? This man actually sat across from his girlfriend, newly girlfriend, again. How about I marry your mom? How gross is this? Now, I think again we can all agree here. This is another manipulation because, like, this man can't be trusted. I'm sorry, he just can't be trusted whatsoever. And then, secondly, why would you rope not a rando, but her mom? It's just how how does one explain? And then, sir, you said this on camera. You said this on camera. You dumbass said this on camera. You don't think somebody has a connection to the Philippines? But again, and I can't remember at what point it said, but there is a point in here where he says his main goal is to stay in the Philippines. It's actually really interesting, this particular storyline, in the sense of so many times we hear, oh, someone just wants to get into the States, is one a green card, is one this, is one that, because the American dream, America is the place that everybody wants to go. And then when you kind of see it on the flip side, where you see this person who's like, I want to get the hell out of Dodge and do whatever I can to be in the Philippines. And now we're seeing the American using the quote unquote foreigner, but in this case, not foreigner, but and using her and in addition her family to stay in the Philippines. It's that part of it for me is just interesting. But at the same time, it's also sad if you think about it hard enough, because I think the reason he wants to be in the Philippines, I think we can all, again, agree, is to get away from his obligations as, let's not forget, a father. This man has fathered children. Not one, I think 2. Anyway, so he said, yeah, why not your mom? She's single. It's fine. She got nobody. Jesus Christ. Anyway, then we see the next scene, they're doing like karaoke, which, the karaoke is big in the Philippines, but you can only do karaoke in your homes until 10 o'clock at night. So you better stop that shit at 10:01. Anyway, I also have to say here, not that I necessarily, because I think I can't remember exactly what it was he was eating, but whatever it was, he's criticizing the flavors. Sir, you are the whitest man I have ever seen in my life talking about other people's, other cultures' foods, about how it needs more flavor. Sir, we saw you cooking prawns in your bathroom. I'm not taking advice from you. Anyway, so then we tell the family the plans, which we have just gone through. He does kind of say the first plan. And again, when he says to Faith, oh, did you tell your family about our plans? Huh? With this this Glasgow smile on his face. And I'm just like, ew. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's not about how he looks, though he's like not all my type, but it's not about how he looks. It's just it's him. It's all of him. It's the him. I don't know what else to say. It's just him. Anyway, so he says, I can get a job here, because guess what, guys? He has so many skills. Okay, he can do anything. He can cook in a bathroom if you want him to. He can clean. I again don't want to. I don't trust his abilities to clean. He can fish, y'all. He can fish as well. He can do IT. He talked about earlier. He can be a drag queen's assistant. We've seen him do that. And I think currently he's working at like a Walgreens or something. But anyways, he can do all kinds of things. Yes, he can. Okay, so he can get a job. That's fine. Anyway, he's like, but there's also that, anyway, so no, I'm gonna confuse it. But yeah, it's the last time with the family, as I've said before. And he's like, hey, mom. Hey, mom. And you guys are like, that's obviously, but he's like, hey. If my first plan doesn't work in terms of just going to Thailand because you can, um, both of them can, and doing it the better way. You want to get married? Eh? How you doing? You know what I mean? And mom, poor mom, is just there like, oh, you're playing. You're you're full of shit. You're playing, right? It's funny. Ha ha ha. No, no. And like the siblings are like, we'll take option A. Thank you. Because you're not going to marry our mom, you psycho. Oh, can you imagine the bullshit that family would go through if he married the mom? Oh, God. Even the bullshit he'd go through if he married Faith. Anyway, so her mom is kind of like, me? Marry him? I'm too old for him. No, ma'am, you're too sane for him. Um, and she says, I do not want to be involved. And I said, "Mm, I don't even want to, I don't even want to watch, because I feel like I'm too involved. So I feel like I'm watching and I'm watching a train wreck happen and there's nothing I can do about it. Anyways, that's it for Faith and Loren for this episode. And next, I think our final couple is Vanja and Bojo, whatever. Episode 12, because we didn't have episode 11 with them, or I didn't say anything about them, whatever. She's meeting his friends today. And, they're kind of talking about like the experiences so far, and his friends are like, so why did you make her cry? And she says, well, he hasn't kissed me. Like what I love about Vanya in this moment, she's like, I am bearing it all. And his friends are like, well, why haven't you made the first move? Or make any move. And he's like, I just don't want to push it. He's not that into her, and it's so fucked up. So she then asks, so to the friends, so like, is he acting this way because of the ex? Like, is she still in the picture? And Bozo says, no, nothing's going on with her, which I don't disagree with. He does say that she's actually in a relationship, so I don't think he's lying. I think it's just merely that either A, he's just not into her, or B, he has commitment issues, and both, really. So then Vanya asks, like, who ended it? You or her? And he says she was the one that ended it, which then goes to show that maybe he's just not that over her yet. He says that, I was immature, so that's why she did it. He says, but like, I don't, anyway, yeah, no, moving on from that. So she's like, how long should I be waiting, for you to get there? He's like, I'm only here for 3 weeks. And his friends, I think, say to him, like, you should be taking full advantage of her being here. You should be trying more. And his friends are like, look at like, lock yourself in the apartment for 24 hours. Like, she just wants your time. You don't have to have sex with her. Just be with her. And Bozo tells her, you should just like look at the sunset and breathe. Because sometimes you're too rushy. And I said, you asshole. You're literally telling her to take a break. Take a breather. Hold up. Pump the brakes. When you've been doing this song and dance for God knows how long now, and you know why she's come here, you literally told your mom, well, yeah, I'm talking to this lady. You'll get to meet her. Your mom and aunt are praying to the gods that this time it works out. And you're over here being like, is this going too fast? You go too quickly. How? What a way to put it on her, even though you're the one that's changed the narrative. You're the one who didn't change the goalpost. You just removed it. Like, are you kidding? So, um, she says, I would not have come here if I was getting friend zoned. No one's going to waste their time and energy and money to go to Croatia from the States to be friend zoned. Like, who does that? And his friends are like, yeah, you can't do that to people. You suck. His friends are incredible. You suck, Bozo. You suck. So Bozo tells her, I think for the remainder of this trip, you should just stay here alone. This jackass of a man, this this baby man is literally over here being like, I think you should do you, boo, on your own. Go fuck yourself. Like, that's what I would say. Go fuck yourself. Are you serious? I can't, I feel so bad for her in this moment where I'm just like, this is not how this was supposed to go. This was not how it was supposed to go. And you completely changed how this was supposed to go in the matter, guys, it's been what, 2 days? It's been 2 days. She's been there for 2 days. And you're already out here being like, I think you need to do this by yourself. Go to hell. Anyway, she says, yeah, I'm gonna leave. And she leaves. She dips out. And we'll get more from that in the next episode. But I'm just, well, in the episode 13, but I'm just like, what the hell? This guy is horrible. Mom, aunt, I'm sorry, but this man child is never getting married. He can't even stay committed in a boyfriend girlfriend situation, much less get married. This is why, sir, you're going to be the Eddie Murphys of the world living at home. Like, it's, oh, I do think, though, just based on kind of what we will see with this episode, obviously the next episode, I don't think it's the end of him. I think he's going to show his face again. 1,000% he's going to show his face again in an awkward situation. Honestly, going ahead here, would you have the date with this guy who is like all into it? I was kind of hoping like Bosa would be like, hey, Vanya, knock, knock, knock. Here I am. I kind of want that. Not because I don't want that on Vanya. She doesn't deserve that, but I kind of want that. Like, I do think this is not the last of him. We're seeing him again. We're definitely seeing him again. Anyway, that's it. That's the end of episode 12. And now we have the final. And that's episode 13 for Vanya. So, she regrets coming, y'all, which I don't even blame her. Like, this guy, this bozo. Anyway, she says she feels like she was played a fool, which, no, he's the fool. He is the biggest fool. And this is why he will probably never be married. And I feel bad for his mom and his aunt who are praying over everything to have this man get married and out of the damn house. It's never going to happen. Anyway, she says she's very confused. She's devastated. And back with him, his friends are like, what the hell is wrong with you? She's great. Like, what is your problem? Like, what is happening? And he says, I just don't feel it. Okay, so couldn't you have just not felt it before she got to Croatia? You know what I mean? And again, the thing too that's like, okay, you didn't feel it. Did you not feel it before she got here? Or is like, do you not feel it now since seeing her? Which I'll get to that part in a second. But if you're not feeling it before, You had an out by going back to your ex-girlfriend. And when that didn't work out, you went back to her. You know what I mean? It's this shit that just drives me nuts about people. And then if it's about you're not feeling it and seeing her, well, what is it about her that has turned you off completely? Because I feel like you made that decision the moment you saw her. So is it the look of her? Because I feel like the pictures we saw of Vanya that they showed us, I'm assuming he would have seen on her dating profile, it's her. It's not like a Rebecca and Ziad situation where it's filtered to high hell. It's her. So what is it about her in person that you're no longer into? Or it's because you're a big man baby and you don't even know the definition of commitment. What is happening? And again, it's not even so much about that. It's about giving her a fighting chance here. And you can't even do that. Anyway, before I go on though, the one thing I will say here is this man needs to better himself first and foremost. Stop playing the damn basketball. Okay. Okay. Get a real job, mom, and maybe you need to pray for him to get a job. And then maybe said wife will follow, you know? But it's just, I think there's so much that he needs to deal with on a serious note before trying to enter into a relationship with anyone. So his friends say, you're not going, his friends say, you're not giving her anything, which is true. As I just said, he's not giving her anything. And Bozo goes out to try and talk to her. And listen, y'all, she wants nothing to do with it. She's done. She's out. And you know what? All the power to her. He doesn't deserve an ounce of her time. He doesn't deserve an ounce of her time anymore. And he says, I feel bad, which do you though? Because I don't, if I was Vanya, I wouldn't buy anything he's saying. I would probably be acting the same she is right now. And she says, I don't want to hear it. And he says, I am sorry. You started me shit. Okay. And she's like, cool, apology accepted. And basically, this is her way of saying, get the hell out of my orbit. And she says that he doesn't deserve my time anymore, which again, just said that a few minutes ago. And Bozo and so sorry. That's basically the end of that. That's at that night. The next day, he invites her to a friendly lunch. This is basically his way of saying, this isn't a date. Okay? This is not a date. This is just buddy. Again, if you know where that's from, you're my people. So she's confused and she's like, why am I here? And he says that he wasn't, I think, thinking of the future. And y'all, this was the best. This was the best. She says, okay, but you were saying that, like, I love you to me. And he's, no, I didn't. She said, oh, yeah? Receipts of the things that he has said to her. And I did write some of it down. And he literally says at one point that I love you. And he said, you didn't tell me you loved me today. There's another text he sent to her. And he's like giggling and laughing like this is a joke and says, that is so me. That's dumb bojo. It's so me. And I said, you, I hate you. It's literally what I'm thinking is this is, again, we have at some point met a person like this or even dated a person like this. I mean, I feel like I've definitely dated a person like this at some point, or, you know, it's, it's love bombing, definitely. Especially because he never did. or he's claiming he never did. He's love bombing her, but like, why? You know? Well, because he needs the attention. That's the thing. This is the thing with him. He doesn't want the commitment. He doesn't want anything to do with it. I really do believe that. I think he could care less about commitment. He wants the attention. And she gave him the attention. And when he was with the ex-girlfriend and that didn't work out anymore, then he needs someone else to give him. He's like, oh yeah, let me go to that chick there again from Bosnia. Let me go to her because she'll give me attention because she did before. That's what he wants. He craves the attention. Why do you think we see this person with these stupid one-liners while playing basketball, or he's like the town dog and goes all over the place and talks to people, and he gets the attention from people? This person wants the attention. That is the only thing he craves. And even, I'll even go a step further, even his mom and his aunt who pray to God that one day he'll get a wife. He's getting the whatever validation of attention that he's getting it from them too. Because you're constantly thinking or talking about me or praying about me or praying for me. It's the attention. That's what he wants. And unfortunately, it's at the expense of women and people like Vanya. Anyway, he says, or I think she said, someone says, um, do I want to date you? And he's like, well, I was always connected, but that's not what you asked. She didn't ask whether or not you had a connection. Anyone can have a connection. It's, do you want to be with her? And he says, I don't feel the chemistry when we are in person. Which, again, listen. Here's what I'll say. Valid. It is valid if you do not feel the chemistry in the same way that you did over the phone. There is no guarantee that it is going to work in person as it does over the phone. Okay? 100% totally get it. You made that decision the minute you saw her at the airport. That's not enough time to figure out whether or not you have a connection with this person. It just isn't. So he says that I also felt awkward. I felt scared. And she says, I only hear excuses. Which again, yes, this is a person who's full of excuses because he's a man, baby. And she says that that you were done day one. He was done day one. But she says that I don't want to be friends. Which again, she didn't come all the way to Croatia for a friend. Okay. She says I'm hurt. So this is it for me. Thanks for nothing. And for whatever reason, which she's better than me because I wouldn't have even done this, she hugs him. Maybe it's just whatever closure she needs. But then walks away. And just like the town that she's currently in, she is split from Bozo. So here's what I think. Now again, I'm coming from the perspective of I know what's kind of happening here for her. I don't think this is the last of Bozo. I think we're going to see him again. I'm not necessarily thinking we're going to see him in the sense that he actually wants to be in a relationship with Vanya, but I could see a world where he's thinking, oh God, I made a grave mistake. I need to fix this. But really and truly has absolutely no intentions on fixing anything because he doesn't, again, he's not capable of being in a committed relationship or even being in a semi-serious relationship or just being in any form of a relationship. Now could that possibly be because he's in love with his ex-girlfriend? 100%. And I get that, but you know, eventually he gotta grow up, you know? Anyways, that's it for Vanya and Bozo. That is it for this episode in its entirety. That is that. So where am I at? I don't know from when you're going to get this versus when you're going to get other things, but don't worry, you're still going to get those 2 final episodes for um, Love Off the Grid. I did not forget. That's coming. We're going to do 2 more episodes of B90 to catch up. You'll get that at some point. I'm not sure when. But you will get that prior to the more recent episode, which will be covering everything else that's missed during the break. And then you will also be getting Last Resort, which I'll be covering those 2 episodes. And yeah, you'll get that too. But that might end up being after the new year. We'll see. But my God, guys, I'm excited to talk about Last Resort and trying to get through this first. But anyways, that is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. Every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there. And you can find me there at www.realityteatimes2, all spelled out, .podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.